It's so wonderful to have you all here this morning. I saw Maurice's shoes. Anybody see his kicks when he was walking up? I was like, I think he needs the courage to change and give me those shoes. I feel like sneakers have just gotten cuter over the years, right? I feel good about aging because I'm going to have cute sneakers. So last week, we started out our Courageous Transformation series with the courage to rise. And I shared a quote from Ernest Holmes, which I want to share a key piece of that quote. When we rise superior to the world, we create a new pattern. When we rise superior to our circumstances, superior to our stories, superior to our histories and lineages and cultural inheritances and cultural norms that are full of BS, when we rise superior to all of that, we create a new pattern. Anybody up for a new pattern? Yes. All right, then let's talk about change. Yeah. Let us know in the comments feed with some thumbs up and hearts. Are you actually interested in a new pattern? Yeah. Really? That was weak, y'all. That was weak. That was weak. I hope there's a ton more emojis online right now. Because a new pattern is synonymous with change. You can't have one without the other. And it does require courage. I got permission to tell you a story about the courage to change, the courage to take a step towards a new pattern. We had a young man in our community a while back when we were still, this was pre-COVID, BC, and we were in the sanctuary building and we were having a Wednesday night service. And this beautiful young man walked in and for the first time and was like, what do I do? Where do I go? What do y'all do here? What are you guys about? And how he walked in the door was that he was walking on Louisiana trying to get on the bus to go see his dealer. Was in the depths of a meth addiction and couldn't get a hold of his dealer, and instead gathered up his courage to walk into our building, never having been here before, never having practiced science of mind. Just so happened he was right outside our front door on a Wednesday night when we were just getting ready for service. Now I want you to think for a minute about the courage it took to walk into our doors when you were on your way to your dealer's house. But right in that moment began a new pattern. Right in that moment, that courage to turn, to change direction, to change from what has been to something new, welcomed in a new pattern. This is how it works. Spirit, give us courage to change what must be altered. Serenity to accept what cannot be helped. And the insight to know one from the other. This is the original Serenity Prayer written in the 1920s by Reinhold Niebuhr, I don't know how you say the name. But this was written in the early 1900s, and originally, let me come back to it, Spirit, give us courage to change what must be altered. Serenity to accept what cannot be helped. And the insight to know one from the other. It evolved over time and has become, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. But I like the original. It starts with, Spirit, give me the courage to change what must be altered. It's not sort of like, give me some serenity for maybe some things that I, maybe kind of want to sort of could change. It starts with the courage to change what must be altered. It doesn't say what maybe should be altered. It doesn't say, give me the courage to change. It says what must be altered. I love the language in this original version of the prayer. And it also says, give me the insight. Insight. Not just wisdom, but give me the courage to turn within and have the sight to know the difference between what cannot be helped and what must be altered. When we determine ourselves spiritual beings, people who prioritize capital L love and unity, the place that we get the insight to know what must be altered is in here. I think about Kinney on that Wednesday night. I think about that a lot. And I think about what was that thing in him that said, let me turn direction. I believe it was God. I believe insight is the way we access our divine knowing. Insight is the way that we turn when we need to turn from something that must be altered. I was reading from Rabbi Rami Shapiro this week, and he was talking about his own food addiction. And he was saying that for him, it was all about turning. That turning from the behavior is all that was required in not participating actively in his addiction. And then he said, and how do you turn? You turn. There's nothing to do with turning but turning. And it is like that. It is that simple. When we determine that there is something in our lives that must be altered, there's nothing to do but get with the altering. I want you to think of something in your life right now. I want you to use your insight and determine what is something that needs to be altered in your life today. Anybody struggling? Anybody not sure what it is? Right? Anybody have more than one? Let us know in the comments feed, beloveds online. Right? I was having a truth-telling session with myself a few weeks ago. I have to do that sometimes. And I had this moment of insight. And some of those moments are not pleasurable. Other thing about change, right? It's not always fun. Altering what must be altered is not always pleasant. So having this truth-telling session with myself, and I had this question that came into my consciousness: is comfort the same as care? We talk a lot about self-care in our culture, right? Anybody on like a self-care mission? Always working on your self-care? Right? I mean, my girlfriends and I'm so tired of hearing that language. Like, but how's your self-care practice? Over it. However, I got to thinking about comfort and the difference between seeking comfort and seeking care. And I had to tell the truth to myself. Oh, this is comfort. This is not care. This is actually not caring for myself. This is comforting the hell out of myself. And I like it. Super comfortable. Pretty pleasurable and pleasant. But not caring. This is that insight. When we get in the business of rigorous honesty with ourselves and allow ourselves to ask the juicy questions. What must be altered? Because here's the thing, change gonna come, right? What do we know about life? What's one of those bumper stickers? Life is change. There's a story from the Buddhist tradition. There's a Buddhist monk, and he's on the stream with his students, and all the students are in the river, frolicking and playing and doing what you do in rivers. And there's this one student of the monks who's sitting on the bank, like clearly anxious, sitting on the side, not in there playing with his homies. And he's sitting on the side and he says, "Teacher, if you can't step in the same stream twice, why step in the stream at all?" Because the teacher was like, "So why are you not in the stream? Why are you not in there playing with all your friends?" And he was just really like wringing his hands. We know in the Buddhist teaching that you can't step in the same stream twice. And so how do you step in the stream? And his teacher pushed him in. Sometimes we just got to get pushed. Sometimes life does the pushing. I know in my journey as a seeker of spiritual truths, spiritual living, I've heard this idea, the cosmic 2x4. Anybody? And I spent a bunch of years doing all I knew to do to avoid the cosmic 2x4. Anybody else? Like, let me get this gently. Let me get this like in the fun, sweet way that I know God can be. Let me not get the cosmic 2x4. And yet I find the cosmic 2x4 still seems to need to happen. Our resistance to welcoming the changes that are always in motion. You cannot step into the stream and be in the same place that you were on this step, because that's already down there. So there is literally no possibility of experiencing life without change. There is no present moment that is the same as the past present moment, or will be the same as the future present moment. They are always new. And yet we walk through this life as if, like, no, I'm going to just keep doing what I do. I do what I do. I got my stuff. I know I have a routine. I know what I'm doing. And then it's going to go like this. And then I put it on my vision board to go like this. And we have this wildly false misunderstanding that somehow we can control the stream and keep it the same. And keep it comfortable, right? We sure do love our comfort. And it is just not the nature of reality. Buddha's also taught that most of our suffering comes from our unwillingness to release our grip on things that change. Our attempt to micromanage this thing called life. And I wonder what happens when we declare ourselves agents of change. When we declare ourselves love in action, which happens to be the mission of our community. I want to share with you the definition of the word agent. A person who acts on behalf of, a person that takes an active role. What if I got active, love in action? What if I was an active participant in the impermanence of life itself? What if I acted on behalf of change? And what if that is exactly where the courage to change what must be altered lies? The courage that we need to gather up in those moments so that we can turn from what no longer serves. So that we can have the courage to have the insight to be like, oh yeah, I do have to change that. The courage to meet the impermanence that always is so, as an agent of that impermanence, as an active participant in what is unfolding. And I'm going to take you a step further. What if we did that not only as an active participant, but what if we did that from a place of faith? What if we truly held steadfast to the idea that God is always moving for good and there's no other possibility? So that this impermanence, this ever unfolding change, is something I choose to consciously and actively meet as good. Because I know God. Because I stand intentionally and consciously in my faith about the goodness of God, and I know that God is all there is, which means life is God, and it is moving for good. And I'm about to be an agent of that good, which means I'm an agent of change, which means that new pattern that we all said, yeah, I want a new pattern. That new pattern is always seeking its manifestation through our lives. And we can consciously meet that invitation in faith. We can gather up our courage and be like, I don't know why this thing in me is telling me to turn, but I'm going to honor it. I don't know why this relationship is falling apart around me, but I am going to stand in this change in all the faith that I can muster and trust the good that's unfolding here. I don't know why I didn't get the job, why they didn't accept my offer on the house, why there's an eviction notice hanging on my door. I don't know why, but I'm going to meet it as an agent of change and faith. And I'm going to ask some juicy questions. Sometimes my prayers are as simple as, okay, what do you got for me in this? I take my hands fully off of it. I turn from micromanaging, which is one of my habits. And I simply ask, what do you got for me? Show me. I don't like it. I don't think it's cute. But I trust life. I trust the good. So show me. What do you got? Help me understand what is mine to do here. Rabbi Rami Shapiro said, when he needs to gather the courage to turn from his addictive behavior, sometimes he has to pray for surrender. Sometimes he just has to say, I literally can't, I'm like, I can't turn. I'm not turning. Turning's not happening. Please, God, allow me to let go of what has been, who I've been, and take this from me. Let me surrender my habits. Let me surrender my misunderstandings. Let me surrender how I think this is supposed to go. Take it from me. And in that very turning to God, in prayer, the turn has happened. In that very willingness to say, okay, I'm stuck here. I'm sitting on the side of the river and everybody else is playing and I'm too anxious to get in. Just let God just. It's that simple sometimes. Sometimes we just have to let go. And the very courage we think we don't possess, the strength we think we don't have to meet that moment, rises in that surrender, like, just show me, because I don't know. And the willingness to go to prayer, the willingness to turn to that something greater is the courage, is the strength. The willingness to walk into a space that you have no idea, you are just turning. You're just turning. And yet, it is the beginning of an entirely good pattern. And you can trust it. Right? We can have absolute faith that in that turning, there is good. We don't have to know what it looks like. We don't have to know what to put on our vision board. We don't have to know anything. But good is always in motion. Spirit is always moving for us. Even when it looks like a shiznit show. Even when you're like, I don't know what you're doing here, Spirit, life. I don't know what you're doing. And it looks really ugly to me. I do not understand it. But that's where faith comes in. I don't have to understand it. I don't have to like it. I don't have to make sense of it. But I can trust Spirit. Pema Chodron, from her book, When Things Fall Apart, which is ministering to me right now, she says, impermanence becomes vivid in the present moment. So does compassion and wonder and courage, and so does fear. But impermanence becomes vivid in the present moment. And where's the one place you can really meet God?
Here and now.
The here and now. We can't go back. We can't leap forward. The only place we can truly meet courage, meet insight, meet wisdom, meet serenity is right here in the present moment. But when we make that conscious decision to get present, she says it really eloquently that, impermanence becomes vivid. So does courage and joy and wonder and fear. When we make the courageous choice to be absolutely present in the moment, which is the only place that we can meet that thing that helps us turn, where we feel that impulse to do it different. But it's also the place where our reality, where our current circumstances become vividly clear. Where our ability to be in denial and avoidance and numbing and storytelling, untrue storytelling, all that becomes impossible in the present moment. Because you meet yourself, you meet all your circumstances, you meet your choices. And Angela Davis has become known for her reinterpretation of the Serenity Prayer, and she says, I am no longer accepting the things I cannot change. I am changing the things I cannot accept. And so I offer that when we intentionally get present in this moment, eyes wide open, there waiting is the wake-up call. There waiting in that present moment is the undeniable set of circumstances that are raising their hands, sometimes painfully and loudly. Must be altered. Must be altered. But also in that moment, in this present moment, we are met with all the grace. When we surrender ourselves, when we choose to turn in the present moment to our faith, to that something greater, we open our arms, we open ourselves, we open our hearts, we open our vessels to all the grace which we do nothing to earn, that is ever available and ever waiting for us to open ourselves to it, and all the grace we need to meet whatever is ours to meet, to alter whatever is ours to alter, becomes possible. And we don't have to do it alone. We don't have to do it with our own small thinking. We don't have to keep telling the old stories. We make room for the new pattern. We open ourselves to that absolute divine power that is the greatest power in the entire universe and beyond to move in us, to do what must be done. To have the insight to know what must be done. So one of the things I want you to consider in this moment, as you allow yourself to be absolutely, fully present to what is, eyes wide open, looking at your personal set of circumstances, looking at our global set of circumstances, and I want you to ask yourself some juicy questions. What does this make possible? What am I being moved to change? And maybe put down the not so juicy questions, like, who's to blame? How can I make it stop? And allow grace to pour in and answer those questions. Allow that something greater to pour in and move you into a new pattern. Everything you need to meet that circumstance is right there in the present moment. So let's close today. Pray with me the original Serenity Prayer. Spirit, Give us courage to change what must be altered. Serenity to accept what cannot be helped. And the insight to know one from the other. Oh, and so it is.